Alright guys, so I have a quick video on some of the stuff that I'm going to be using to make the bedside for my, I think it's a 6th generation F-150. It's a 09 to 14 year model, and mine is the short bed, so it's the 5.5 foot bed.
Pockets.
You don't have any pockets. Alright, so I saw a few videos on YouTube of how to go about this project. This is a DIY. It's my first time doing something like this. I'm not experienced or a professional by any chance. By any degree. But I have some mechanical aptitude, and I am willing to mess around with tools and bolts and brackets to get this project done, especially because an actual bed slide is going to cost about $1,500 to maybe $1,800 dollars. So I don't want to be spending that kind of money. All right, hold on. Let me set him in. All right, so one guy on YouTube, an electrician, I believe, went ahead and used a unistrut. So I went ahead and I bought a unistrut as well. This is a 10-footer from Lowe's. Bought this in what month is it? It's April. Bought this in April of 2024 for about $36 with tax. So again, this is a 10-foot unistrut. I'm gonna cut it exactly in the middle, so I have two 5-foot pieces, and this is going to either mount. This is actually going to mount up to the slide itself. So the way I have this set up here is roughly just for visualization purposes, going to give you an idea of how I'm going to have the frame set up, or the base for the slide. So this will actually be further apart, of course, and it will be mounted to the base. Bolts are going to go down through all of them, and these trolleys here are actually made for use with electric hoists. So the way they actually work is these trolley bearings will mount to a unistrut that's up on a ceiling. So you would have this open channel here. You would have it mounted up to a ceiling or whatever, and there would be a hoist mounted to the bottom of this, and the wheels would be within this channel here, traveling back and forth. So these are rated in capacity load or load bearing weight for that application, not for what we're using it, but nevertheless, they are heavy duty. These came from Amazon. They're sold in a pack of 2. The welding is really good. Each pack of 2 was about $30, and it came with a series of washers. No bolts, but washers. So I went ahead and before I even go to the bolts and washers, this is a 1 5/8 by 1 5/8 unistrut, galvanized, and this is an 1 5/8 trolley. So it's designed to actually work with this exact unistrut, or the trolley and the unistrut are supposed to work together. So you have very minimal up and down play there, and you do have a little bit of height clearance, which I wanted because I have a few bars and pry bars that I'll be throwing underneath the slide itself. So it's sort of like a little storage compartment for things like that. And this essentially runs through the whole slide itself. I'll be right there. Hold on. All right. So what I've got to get is the bolts to run through here. Now I did order a set off Amazon. All of this that I have here on the table came from Amazon. So I'll show you everything in a second. But these bolts here are quarter inch with a 20 pitch thread, or however however they call that, but the thread is a 20 pitch, so probably it's metric, I know that much. I think 1/4 inch. Whatever. This is the label. So I bought that thinking it would be perfect enough to run through these, but as you can see here, it can kind of go right through. So if I want to go ahead and use these anyway, which I'm going to think about it, I can add the washer that they included with the washer that's included in this entire pack, and then I'll have something like that. But I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'll probably get the correct stuff, so I don't have to deal with any slop or any movement with any of this stuff. It's cheap enough. So anyway, I'll return that. I got some cutting discs. Again, I'm not at all experienced with doing any of this. So if you're in my shoes, then I recommend you get a first of all, don't get a Ryobi, but get a grinder. This is the only time you're ever going to use an angle grinder, then okay, sure, get a Ryobi. But this I've had since I was much younger. Anyway. Yeah, yes, this is a tool. Okay, come over here. You got to pedal over here. Cutting discs. This is specifically designed here for metal and stainless. You're gonna use that and this to get your cut here at the unit strut. Couple of handles. These are 6 inches in length with about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches of protrusion. So essentially, from wherever it's mounted, it's going to be protruding that much further out. And this is either going to go mounted pointing upwards on the slide or towards the edge. It just depends how how I make my cut. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I can actually make a 6-inch slot into the slide itself, so that this sits recessed into the plywood. So I might actually do that to have the handles. Come on, you got it. You can do it. You can do it. All right, where was it? So yeah, I'll recess these. I'll recess some cutouts so that these sit inside the plywood, and they're not actually protruding out. Because if I do exactly 5 feet or maybe 5.5 feet, I might have some trouble with closing the gate itself. Alright, the next thing I got from Amazon was these, I think they're called gate latches or door latches, and what they do is they're spring loaded, so you just pull on one end and the pin would unlock. Oh, I keep forgetting I'm really far. You could pull one end of the latch and it would release from wherever it's latched into. So as I was saying, you pull the latch, and because of the spring tension in here, it's gonna self retract or push itself back out. You can grab it, turn it 90 degrees, and you'll have the locking position. So this is essentially going to go, you want to imagine that this is the slide. This is going to go somewhere underneath the slide and close to the handles that I'm gonna cut out within the frame, within the bedside. I'll probably have to add a piece of wood to it, because what I'm actually going to do is I'll need this portion here to actually go down lower, so that I can mount this to the base itself, and they can be at the same height and they can latch into place. that's what's going to keep the bed slide itself from that's what's going to keep the bed slide itself from sliding out once I open the tailgate. So it'll keep it locked in place. So this is roughly what it's going to look like. All right, and that'll be latched into place. So the handle will be, like I said, somewhere within this area. I'll pull it out and it'll latch. It'll unlatch and I'll be able to pull out the slide. So I think I last left off on that. If this is the slide, right, sitting on top of the base with the trolley bearings bolted onto the base, I would have this latch here. Trying to get a good frame for you. I'll have this here on the bottom of the slide itself, and then this would be bolted to the frame, so the base. So this would be, I would have to make sure this is the right height, and I don't want it too far in because then I'm gonna have to pull too far back on this latch. So I'll actually have it somewhere around there, so that I have to use minimal effort to unlatch this. So again, that's what's gonna keep the slide itself. When I open the tailgate, it's gonna keep the slide from just rolling out freely. All right. Now, what am I gonna do about once I do open the slide, and I have it at the extension that I needed, and I don't want it to keep rolling out forward, is that I'm gonna use some pieces of some pretty thick angle. This must be aluminum. Yeah, this is aluminum. So I'm gonna use these pretty thick angle pieces. I'm gonna put one again on the frame, and that's going to be facing. I'm trying to think what this is more susceptible to withstanding. I was gonna do a double method, a double stopper method, but I've got to get one more actually. I've only got 3. They ran out, so I've got to get one more. But the idea is going to be that I'm going to mount this towards the front of the base, and we're going to mount the other one towards the back. So it'll be maybe something like that. All right. So and I'm going to mount it as far back as I need it to, so that I get the desired extension, and then the slide won't come out any further than that. So as the slide is making its way out, it'll hit both pieces of the angled aluminum would hit each other, and that would act as a stopper. The reason I'm going this route is to use these two pieces hitting each other as a stop, is because I was originally going to do some sort of a latch method, but obviously I can't stick my arm way, 5 feet 5 feet past the start of the slide to unlatch it once it does latch into the same point as the first latch would latch onto. So it's doable, but you'd have to use some sort of stainless steel braided rope or aircraft wire, whatever you want to call it, and you'd have to use a series of pulling bolts as well, so that it can be pulled from where you're standing. So you'd have to run a couple of feet of that, and then tie it to here and have a pulling eye so that it curves out back towards you, and it would do the same thing as unlatching it from the front. I don't think I want to do all that because it's a lot of work, and again, I'm not experienced in this at all. So I'm really just using some of my ingenuity and common sense to make the vision I have up here, and I've drawn a couple of sketches already, and I've thrown some out, but I'm trying to make what I'm envisioning up here make sense when I put it all together. And all I'm missing is to do the cut on the unistrut, and I am missing the plywood. I've got to get the plywood. I think I'm going to go with 1/2 inch thickness for the base, and that'll be pressure treated plywood. And then I'll go with, if it's not too heavy, I'll go with some 1/2 inch for the I'm sorry, 3/4 inch for the slide itself, just to make sure it'll hold all the weight of everything I'm gonna put on it. I do mobile auto repair, so I have an aluminum jack, I have jack stands, I have a ton of tools, wrenches, and power tools, and just a whole bunch of extra stuff as well. And I need to make sure that the slide is going to withstand the weight of all that, and that I'll still be able to, you know, pull it out with ease and not either break my back or work twice as hard to get the job done. So all in all, that's why I went with the trolley bearings. This is not the correct usage for them. Like I said, these are supposed to ride within this channel up in the air, and this is for a hoist. So all we're going to do is we're going to be applying pressure on the opposite side of it. Now, how does that affect its functionality? I really don't see it affecting it at all. In fact, whatever the load rating is on this to be used in this format should be the same thing as if it was used in this format. All right, so the last point I am going to make is that I went ahead and I bought some self-tapping screws. I probably need to change these to some wood screws, but I'm going to be tapping a series of holes within the unistrut here because the clearance between the height of the bracket here for the trolley bearing and the bearings themselves, the clearance is very minimal, and I don't think I'll be able to properly bolt this down with the bolts that would actually catch and hold on to these holes here. The bolt head would be too large, so that's why I'm actually just gonna get a drill bit and drill a series of holes in between these holes themselves. But this is a rough idea of what I have envisioned for the bed slide. This is not going to go on the base. The unistrut for me, I think, is going to make more sense putting it on the slide itself, because of the rigidity of the channel of the unistrut themselves and all the weight I'm going to be actually putting on. I think that I would benefit more from putting this on the frame, on the slide, and putting the trolleys themselves on the base. So, all right. So, as you can see, I got 6 of them, 2, 4, 6. The reason I went with 6 and not more is because too much friction is going to start causing, you know, the slide not to be as easy to pull out. And then if you don't get enough, so if you're missing maybe the 2 middle ones, you might get some bowing or some deflection of the slide once you start pulling it all out. The weight, since you'll have a lot of your primary stuff up at the front of the slide, as you pull it out, the second these 2 wheels no longer have something to quickly make contact with, all that weight's just going to start pushing down onto the tailgate or further past the tailgate, because there's nothing in between. There's no support between this trolley and that trolley. So I hope you're able to follow along. I'm all new to this. It's my first project with anything like this. It's my first woodworking project too. So I'm a little bit excited and nervous, but I think it's gonna come out pretty nice. So, excuse me. So, where am I? So all I'm missing is the plywood now, the 4x5 plywood. My bed is a 5.5 foot bed. So doing everything by 5 feet, or even extending it past just a little bit, which I might end up doing, will be just fine. You can get an idea for how much height I'm gonna have. I have a broken tape measure here. This is 2 feet, okay? 25, 26. So height wise, I will already have 3 inches of height clearance from the bottom of the slide, or what would be the the top of the base, and then the bottom of the slide, because the slide is going to go with the unistrut. Anyway, the idea is that this is going to go through the 3/4 inch, well, through here first, and then into the 3/4 inch plywood, which is going to be the slide. Now with that there in place, sure, it's probably not the longest. It's not going to be the longest, and it's not going to be the most the beefiest bolt or the beefiest screw. But the idea is that all I need is this to stay with the frame, to move with it. This is not going to be taking much of a load if you're following me. So this is, I'm not going to be relying on this to pull the whole slide. This is just a way for these to do their job. So with that being said, again, maybe I truly don't know what I'm doing, and I kind of don't, but I'm using these screws. I'm going to be using screws like these, probably for wood, and each hole that I've made will hold this to the slide itself. And then if you see this in action, you'll see that it's perfect in terms of the head not interfering with the movement of the trolley. There's no way it can ever touch that. Yeah, cool. All right, so we got 2 boards, 4x8 pressure treated plywood. One's gonna be the slide, one's gonna be the base, and Home Depot didn't want to cut it, so we're gonna have to measure it out and cut it. Alright, update on the truck slide. I got the truck emptied out, and I already know I cut 63 inches from back to front, and side to side it's 4 feet, so I didn't need to cut anything side to side. This is what I have so far for the slide itself. I've already bolted everything down, well, screwed everything down into the plywood. It measures 8.5 feet from this, I'm sorry, 8.5 inches from here to here, and 8.5 inches from here to here. Same thing on this side and on that side. So that was pretty straightforward. I didn't want it too far to the edges. You don't want it too close either. So now we made templates for where the trolleys are going to sit. I put the trolleys over here, and then from the center of the trolley to the edge here measures 9.5. So I went over here and I measured from the center here of the trolley bearing, from here to here, 9.5. And how far forward or back it was doesn't really matter, but as long as both sides are the same, which I measured them out, it was, I want to say, I think 6 inches and something. Papa, don't push it, don't push it. So about 8 inches and a quarter. All right, so update. We I guess my measurements weren't that great as I originally thought, and so we had to loosen everything, and then we put it in through the, we put it into each of the channels, loose but still with the nuts and the bolts in the way. And so then what we did was we made sure that everything could slide side to side and it could make its way inside. Once it got inside, we pulled it out a couple times, made sure everything felt good, and as soon as we confirmed that it did, we went ahead and go push your arm, push.
No.
Yeah. And then we went ahead and retightened everything. So now we're gonna put it into the truck. Ready? All right, take 2. Because I want to put handles on here, so this allows me to still go ahead and mount these on right there. Let me turn off the let me open the gate. Sorry. I can mount these right here, and it'll be nice. I'm not gonna recess it as I originally said, because there's just no point for it. I'm gonna put 2 of these, one there. All right, so I took out the Bedslide, and at this point I am setting up a latch system so that I can pull out the entire slide and latch it within the set point. So this is kind of what it looks like. Got an eye bolt here, tied in with some braided stainless steel wire or aircraft wire, and then to one of the spring-loaded gate latches. These here are stoppers, so these are supposed to make contact with this in case I don't want to stop, in case I want to pull it out further than where I'm gonna stop it here. Yeah, let me, so it's a pretty long bolt, so if you see under here, I'm gonna have to pass the grinder through here and snip some of these off, but I don't care about the back too much, because I'm not gonna have anything serious back here or anything that requires this needing to be flat. So that's the least of my concern. My concern is more in the front, so I want the front to have no screws protruding if possible, nothing. So I'll keep you guys updated. So I got the handles, pretty heavy duty. I used to have a latch here. That latch back there used to be up here, and so you can see the 4 holes. I did away with it because the manner in which the other bracket would need to be positioned in relation to or in regards to being mounted on the base was going to be really ugly, and I know it's a DIY, and you know, maybe I don't know any better, but it was just going to be too ugly for me to look at. So, and I look at the back of this truck almost every day, so. All right, so what do I have here? Let me start from the closed position so you get an idea. All right, So right here we have the lock position, or the closed position. And so in this position, there's an aircraft wire here, or what is also known as braided stainless steel. This is 1/8 of an inch, and it's got a little clamp that holds the ends together. Now I just repurposed this L bracket, or this receiver bracket, from the second latch that I'm using at the end over there, and I used it for this purpose so that this line here can stay within reach whenever I want to pull it. So I'm a righty, and this is perfect for me, to a point where I like it. So right here, right about there. So I still have to tap it out a little bit bigger, but that's about where it should be. And then in relation to how open the slide is, it's right at about the edge of the tailgate. Yank it all over. And then I don't know how well you can see that, but the angle brackets right there and right there are both touching each other. This is just an extension of what's in the bed, and the purpose of it is, as you can see, it keeps everything elevated even once it's past even once it's out past the bed. So that's about a solid I'm gonna say foot almost. It's either 11 inches or 12 inches, and you can see it maintains a nice level height. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load everything up so you can get an idea of what my setup looks like, and then I'll show you all my tools and what I have, so that you can see the weight, relatively speaking. Okay, fast forward. So this is the rough setup right now. Don't mind this is going to the basement, but one-handed pull. And locks, doesn't roll backwards, so that's position 2. I've got a tool organizer up here. It's full. Pliers and odds and ends, hose clamps. Power tools, miscellaneous. Heaviest thing here is probably this mallet, sledgehammers, or this battery is probably one of the heaviest things. This dead blow is not that heavy. 2 Daytona jack stands, 3 tons. A pair of them. Map gas with the TS8000 Benzomatic. I could have sworn this used to be Benzomatic. I never saw the R all my life. I never saw the R, but whatever. So you got that. This is probably my most embarrassing drawer here. It is by far the messiest and the most colorful. All my electronic stuff. In the back here, I'm on a little bit of a decline, so it won't stay open. But I have there a storage box with maybe 20 pounds worth of tools, and then this is just a crate with some this is like a tool crate that I use sometimes from time to time for oil changes, and then the bottle. So nothing too fancy there. A couple of ratchet straps here, fire extinguisher. But yeah, I'm like 170, maybe 175. And I know it's because I'm on a decline that's a little easier than maybe it should be. But yeah. So all I'm missing up here, I'm gonna put up here my jack. This is at the same distance or a little further out than it used to be when I didn't have a truck slide, and I was used to that. I was okay with it because I like using the tailgate as a little table. But hold on, I'm getting a phone call.